Hi, my dearest family. So we are carrying on talking about 2026, and today we are going to be touching base on Ceres retrograde in the sign of Cancer, which is actually quite a fascinating chart. So let's get started, actually. I'm going to share the screen so that you can see what exactly is happening in that chart. Well, I'm trying to share the screen. Yeah, here you go. So Ceres will be going into the sign of Cancer on August 12th, 2026. And then it will be staying there for quite a while. Actually, I forgot to check that one. So let me just quickly tell you. It's going to be there until May 2027, May 21st, 2027. So you can see that this is going to be an extensive period of time. And let me just give you straight away the sensitive degrees so that you can have that noted down, for example, in your calendar, or basically I prepared a 2026 calendar with all these special degrees. So if you would like to have a kind of like a yearly forecast or summary for yourself, that you can go on my website and then you can order your sign or your sun and moon sign as well. And you can even buy the entire package. I think it's £25. Each rising sign is about 2.5 to 3 hours long. And then you would get a calendar with it as well, which is going to be actually giving you some additional details. But the sensitive degrees that you might want to remember is Ceres will turn retrograde on 23 degree on November 21st, and it's gonna go back to the 10th degree of Cancer. So two degrees that are super crucial in the sign of Cancer is number 10 and number 23. Okay, so let's actually talk about what this might indicate on a global level as well as on a personal level. So we've got Ceres, and the core archetype of Ceres is the nurturer or the griever. She represents nourishment, agriculture, food supply, mothering, the cycles of loss and gains. It's like a little bit like the seasons. So actually, Ceres represents seasons as well, such as, summer, winter, and so forth. It reveals what we need to feel cared for and how we process grief and separation. Now, as you can see, once Ceres moves into the sign of Aries, actually, sorry, Cancer, we've got Mars there as well. And Mars is the warrior and the initiator. So, of course, Mars is going to be spending there approximately about 6 weeks. But remember, until Ceres is in the sign of Cancer, it's a birth chart. So basically, it's going to look like that Mars is also in the sign of Cancer for about a good 9 month period. And Mars governs action, assertiveness, drive, aggression, courage, and physical energy as well. It shows how we fight, how we defend ourselves, and how we pursue our desires. The other very super interesting thing that you might want to see straight away is that we have got the dispositor of Ceres is the moon. And the moon is about to be forming actually a new moon. And the new moon is pretty much about like the seeding. It's like a union. New moon is when we have got the conjunction between the sun, which is your consciousness, and the moon, which represents your emotions and the instincts. And usually it marks a beginning of a 28-day cycle. This is when we can plant the seeds of intention for a new emotional start. But due to the fact that Ceres and the new moon are pretty much happening at the same time, because that new moon is going to be happening a couple of hours later. So therefore, I would say that this new moon is surely lasting for about 9 months as well. So and of course, when Ceres is gonna go retrograde, then basically it's a review, a retreat. It's not a true backward motion, though. It's more of an optical illusion, and it signals a time to review, reevaluate, internalize, and restructure the planet's function instead of just pushing it forward externally. So, of course, it happens in the sign of Cancer, which represents home, family, emotional security, nurturing, roots, memories, defense, and belonging as well. Cancer is about safety and connections, especially the safety when it comes to our family or loved ones, or even our properties, for example. So, let's just talk about that series a little bit more. Obviously, series, while it's going to be retrograde, you are reviewing the roots of your emotional security and maybe your current patterns of self-nurturing as well. It's kind of like whether you are feeling your spirit or just your physical body, and whether your emotional attachments are healthy or actually they are draining. Like I said, Ceres represents grieving as well. So all the emotional wounds and losses potentially tied to family, home, the mother figure, may resurface and demanding to be processed. So you can find a more sustainable foundation for security. Now, as we see Mars being there as well, and Mars, like I said, it represents action and the drive. It is pretty much with Mars, we want to cut out anything that we have been grieving about so that actually we can move forward. Um, However, Mars can be volatile as well. We can become super defensive and protective as well. It's kind of like a mama tiger type of archetype. It can feel like that I have to take action to secure my home, protect my loved ones, or to establish an emotional boundary. So, Mars is traditionally it's the fall sign of Cancer. So often the actions are driven by emotions, and this Mars is more on the defensive or even the passive aggressive side as well. So, on one hand, the challenge here is going to be that we need to be asserting our needs clearly and lovingly without becoming manipulative or retreating into defensiveness. Because this position here can be pretty um, manipulative as well. Now, we've got the new moon happening at the same time, and that's a fresh emotional start, but it's centered on the themes of self-expression, the authority. Uh, it's somehow an activation of our emotional security needs. So there is this dual focus in this chart where the new emotional beginning must be rooted somehow in a new sense of security. So this energy is asking us to set intentions for, let's say, new creative projects or leadership roles that are emotionally satisfying and as well as authentic. Now, the crisis of Mars series in Cancer is intended to ground that ego-based drive of the Leo new moon. You must first secure your internal feeling of worthiness before you can actually shine brightly and receive recognition. So I think the first step here is that we're going to have to be looking inward to understand the roots of our emotional nourishment so that the energy we use to assert ourselves and the way we express our authentic authority is truly sustainable and soul aligned. So this is the very base of what is going on here. But on a global level, for example, let's imagine the supply chain, that series in Cancer. Like I said, Ceres governs food, agriculture, resources, the concept of mothering the population. And this could really talk to us about the security of those resources or the emotional need for certain type of items. So this could bring up topics around issues of food security or housing crisis or international aid or protecting vulnerable populations. There could be heightened global consciousness around sustainability or resource distribution as well. Um, we might start during the retrograde phase to reevaluate, or it might suggest blockage of how we nurture our communities or how we manage our essential supplies. And this could start highlighting systemic flaws in care systems, for example, agricultural practices, or housing stability. So this aspect requires here like a backward look at old policies connected to those topics. I mean, this could talk to us about, actions and protections of our nation as well. Mars on 0 degree is powerful. It's initiating moments for action related to emotional security, but also domestic protections, like national protections. So therefore, this could bring up the topic of borders and stuff like that. Or, I have to be protecting, if I have got, I don't know, avocado, but I'm running low on it, then I'm not going to give it to someone else. So therefore, this is a very protective and defensive actions related to borders, national security, domestic policies, basically the homeland itself. Like I said, Mars is traditionally considered in its fall in the sign of Cancer, so, and often the problem here is that our actions are very emotional. So it could even indicate emotionalized political debates or nationalist sentiment or even certain type of struggles over land and territory. And, somehow we bring up the past. But we've got that new moon in Leo, which is, the new moon in Leo is a very focused on leadership and creative expressions and centralized authority. So this could be a new cycle for certain global leaders, or entertainment, or art, or the public self-identity. And of course, it brings up the topic of pride as well. So whatever this series is trying to protect here, it is all out of pride, for example. Now, on a personal level, maybe you start feeling a bit antsy to take action to protect your family, to protect your home environment, or to create those emotional boundaries. And we might do that in a passive aggressive way, And what do you have to do to be able to feel safe? That could be one of the topics here. I think you can use this energy to set clear emotional boundaries, or you can even start, for example, a home-based project. If I don't have to pay the rent anymore, then I feel somehow safer. Series, like I said, it's about the patterns of care as well, and it does bring up a topic of self-nurturing. I mean, you can see how many planets Mars is disposing in a sign of Aries. So it looks like that self-care is going to be super important, but in a way, we will be forced, many of us, to revisit old wounds around how we were mothered or how you mother yourself or what type of connections you've got with your children. So this is gonna give us an opportunity for a lot of deep inner work, potentially therapy, or you might end up journaling a little bit more because it's all about understanding your core needs for nourishment. This is telling you that we all have got the right to be nurtured. We all have got the right to our needs and wants to be validated. Because what's very interesting is that Cancer is our needs and Leo is around is about our wants. So I think the new moon is, is a fresh emotional template, and Leo is about love. So when I bring these two together, it's about self-love, but also it's about creative courage as well. Because we need to be courageous to start loving ourselves. Because most likely we're going to have to start talking about our, inner saboteurs, and we're going to have to face them. We're going to have to be bold to express our most authentic self. And, Leo also talks to us about gifts as well. So maybe you need to be courageous enough to share your gifts with others, to recognize your own self-worth, and to be able to celebrate every single little milestone, um, um, in our lives. I mean, this series, for example, in the sign of Cancer, can talk to us about that we are going to be, more active when it comes to cooking, for example, nourishing food at home. I cannot imagine that on a global level, to become widespread, but why not? But we can do some home improvement projects as well for comfort and security. And maybe it means that we are going to be, putting alarms in and all those type of stuff. And but I think this combination is all about those emotional issues that come to head. Mars represents the head. Mars represents kind of like the nose as well. So if we are smelling out, that there is a bit of an emotional hurdle here to overcome, then we're going to have to start working on it. If you have been avoiding asserting your needs for comfort and security, I think Mars actually can give you the energy here to address them. But we might do that in a more manipulative way. Negatively speaking, this could talk to us about emotional outbursts, and that's really the shadow side of Mars and Ceres in the sign of Cancer. Because, you have got the drive now to act on your emotional needs, but it might be clashing with the needs of others or with the need to feel secure. And therefore, it can lead to emotionally charged conflicts, let's say within family members as well. Like I said, I think it's all about fighting for your right to be nurtured, to be looked after. So even this could bring up the topic of healthcare issues as well. But you can initiate changes to your diet or living situation or certain type of emotional habits that that can make you feel more at home in your own skin. Especially if you have got those sensitive degrees that I have mentioned to you. Imagine the sixth house rule is on 23 degree or on 10 degree of Cancer, Aries, Libra, or Capricorn, then because those sensitive degrees are also in the other three signs as well, then, for example, this could really talk to you about uh, you who is going to, for example, initiate a new diet, a new health regime. But if you have got the second house ruler on those degrees, then this could talk to you about that you're going to be brave enough, for example, to spend a little bit more money on yourself rather than spending it always on your family. Or maybe you are going to be ready to sell your property or to buy a property or to start certain type of building works and so on. So these are some of the main meanings of Ceres and Mars conjunction. The other thing that came to my mind actually, but let's check it together because Mars was retrograde 2024 December, and it shifted back into the sign of it started its retrograde on top of my head at 6 degree of Leo, And then around January 6, 2025, it shifted back into the sign of Cancer. And why I find that what I want to check is what degree Mars went back on. Because that if it's the same, then that series, Mars conjunction, is even more important than we think. So you can see that Mars is. So it went direct on 17 degree of Cancer. So it's not exactly the same degree, but somehow this could still echo the area of the beginning of 2025. Um, January till March period as well. So you might want to be thinking about, okay, what went down in my life around that time? And the reason why I think it might be very important is because, we've got a new moon in the sign of Leo. And a good 1.5 years ago, Mars started the retrograde in the sign of Leo, and then it finished on in the sign of Cancer. Now, Ceres and Mars, are meeting up next year in the sign of Cancer. And yes, Mars is going to be moving forward and it's not going to be retrograde there, but Ceres is going to retrograde pretty close to those Mars retrogression. So Mars is ready to kind of finish up its own cycle. But Ceres says, you know what, you can move on, but maybe there are some emotional roots there that you have to be taking care of. Okay, guys, so this is going to be the series very briefly. I hope it helps. Do let me know in the chat box below if you have got any sensitive degrees, the 23 or the 10 degree of the cardinal sign, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, or Aries. You can look at it from a progression or solar arc point of view as well, because then surely the Ceres retrograde is going to be playing a significant role for you in 2026 slash 2027. And if you cannot interpret it, feel free to book a reading with me and then we can talk about it together. So thank you very much, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.